Hey guys, Don here. I want to do a deep dive today into something called Calendly. So, what is Calendly? Calendly is a website where you can set up, it's like a calendar, and you can set up when people have access to you and when they don't. So we are all busy and everyone wants our time, and sometimes we just say for reps, oh, you can come in this day and this day. I want to give you some recommendations. This is what I tell my office manager. So the way I do it and what works for me is on Mondays and Tuesdays, they can have like reps come into the office, and that's the time I do that type of stuff. And then they have to tell me, and I put it in my calendar, and I usually see them for like 20 minutes if I have any time. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are the times I talk to people. So that may be where I'm doing an interview. That might be where I'm talking about a new business idea to someone. That might be where I'm talking to another podiatrist about a topic. And I do those Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And what I do, it all hooks into your calendar. So whatever calendar you have, it can hook into it. I use the Google Calendar. And if there's nothing booked during that time in my calendar, it'll make itself available. So what happens with Calendly is that it has access to your calendar. It has like specific days. Like, so I put every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 12:30 to 1 Eastern Standard Time as the time I have available. And then you can make different events. So I have a lot of different events that I use. So I have like Podiatry Practice Mastery interviews. That's one of the events. I have another event where I just do a strategy call with another doctor. That's another event. I have another event where I talk to a rep. That's kind of another event. So you can make all these different events. But the cool part is, then these events they would sign up for. They can pick the time. It shows up in your calendar, shows up in their calendar. If they delete it or you delete it, it communicates to both people. They can put it in their cell phone and their email. So it works really good for communicating this idea instead of going back and forth. And so when someone sends me their event thing to determine a time, I send them mine, and they can choose the best time to meet with me according to my standards. And if I don't have time, I'm not going to meet with them. I don't want to meet people early morning. I don't want to meet late at night. That's kind of the way I do it. So that's one of the ways I use Calendly. It's well worth, I think, $10 a month to do something like that. For the people that I interview, though, it has a cool thing where I can ask them, hey, how did it go? Do you have any other people you would like me to interview that you think would be good to interview? And that is all automated. So what happens is after the call, there's a couple of things it does. It texts them to remind them a couple of times, like a day before, and then a couple hours before. It texts them. That's neat. And then it also has something where it'll email them you can do it a day after, and then 3 days, and then 5, and then a year. There's these different email sequences afterwards so that you can ask them whatever you want to ask them. You could do it whoever you want to talk to. Like, hey, what else would you like to learn? Who else can I interview? Would you give us a referral or online recommendation? Things like that. So that's one of the ways I use Calendly. And it connects with your Gmail. So in your Gmail, it'll pull up right in your Gmail thing when you're composing a Gmail. And it can also be on your Google Chrome browser or any other browser that you're using, or you can actually open up the website. So that's one way. It's real easy to set up these follow-ups, easy to set up these reminders, and it just works well. You can do ad hoc ones. I don't want to talk about all that. Now, the other thing I use it for a lot is my webinars. So this is kind of the fun part. So with a webinar, it links to my Zoom. So with my interviews, I do those via Zoom, and it links to Zoom. So when it sends out an invite, it sends them my Zoom link as well, automatic. And so the same thing with my webinar, but the difference with this webinar is that it can hold up to 100 people. So I take this Calendly link and I send it out to all my patient list and on social media with a little image of the webinar. So recently we did a webinar on neuromas, and I sent this, hey, we're doing a webinar on neuromas. I usually do it on a Tuesday from 6 to 7. That's the time I like to do it, these webinar things. And people signed up for it, and then it gives them a couple of reminders, and then it offers them when it's time to do it. You can do the webinar, and then it'll send them an email after if they want the recording. If they couldn't make it, you can set up all that stuff. But the webinar has been fun because I see people not only registering, but I make sure they sign up, hey, this is not medical education, and then they can ask a question. So if I get these questions, that will also help me to tailor the presentation to the questions that they give me. So that's a good way of doing a webinar using Calendly. So Calendly is really, really easy to do. I think it's maybe $10, maybe $15 a month, but it's a great way, if anything, just to set up appointments with other people. Everyone wants your time, and if you just have this structured time, hey, I do it at this time, you can pick a time, then it makes life a lot easier. If you want to get into these webinars, I think that's a good thing. Now, what would be next for me? So the next thought is, well, could we set up, for example, a mastermind or something like that on a monthly basis, and people would sign up for it? Because you can also charge. Let's say the mastermind is, I don't know, $100 a mastermind. And then people, they come and it's $100. And if they cancel, they don't get their $100 back, or there's a fee, or there's other ways of doing it. There's ways of accepting payment from Calendly as well. So it has really everything that you want. That would be an easy way to set up some type of a membership type of thing as well. Okay. Once again, Calendly, I love it. Here's you'll see the recommendations. Kind of those are some ways that I use. Okay. Hope that helped.